Okay, I got a 2007 Kawasaki Vulcan. I believe this is a 1700. It's the big boy. Very nice machine. It's a two-color, as you can see, gold and white. Got a little brown pinstripe in there. He's sending me saddleback, and I think we're going to repaint the fairing and completely redo this paint-wise. Should be an interesting build. One thing I did notice on this one, it's got a super fat tire. The front tire on this is about the same size as the rear on most, which surprised me. The bigger your tire you put on the front, the more sluggish the bike will be. Normally you put a smaller tire on, if anything, because it lightens them up a bit. But anyway, that's, I don't know if that's the factory stock size or not. That's going away, so it doesn't matter. This axle in there, you know, every manufacturer tries to make it their own way of being difficult. This one has a, you know, normally you can stick a wrench on or something. This one you can't. I've got these union nuts, which actually fits. It's in here loose, but it does work. It's either that or you have to get the factory tool, I suppose. But as you can see, that spun it right out. So this guy fits right in there, kind of sloppy like, but it worked. If I was going to do more of these, I would actually custom build one of these. That would be a tighter fit. On the other side, let's go over yonder. Yonder, that's a good one, huh? This one I've done before, evidently. This is the same as the Victories, I believe. So I took a union nut here and I ground it down so it fits right in there. And then you can take, well, you can actually spin this one by hand, but at least you can work it out. The other way is I've got this spark plug wrench, which fits in there also. So there's always a way of being creative. In fact, this is a spark plug wrench, and I pressed in a socket so I could put a, and then I think I spot welded it here. So evidently I was using this for something else, probably pulling spark plugs. But, these are three tools. It takes about 5 minutes to make up something like this. It saves you a whole bunch of language. So we're going to continue on. That's a little hint if you run into stuff like this. Just get, these union nuts are really handy. I've used them for a lot of things like this where you need an inverted socket. Okay, this is a new series here on this Kawasaki Vulcan. I just got this in yesterday. I spent yesterday afternoon working out the details on how I was going to attach the frame. I've only done one other Vulcan. Well, two of them actually. I did the 900 years and years ago. One of the first conversions I did. In fact, I think it was the second conversion I actually did that I sold. I sold that to a gentleman in California. And then I've done another Kawasaki since then, but not a Vulcan like this. So, you know, I'm so used to the Gold Wings, I can prefabricate the cradle and everything for those. On this, I have to study all the forces that are involved and how am I going to get an attachment that's going to withstand the loads and that kind of thing. You know, it's a little bit like auto body work. You get a crashed car in, you try to figure out how the car was hit, because then you repair it by trying to reverse the hit. This is kind of the same thing. You got to look at the various forces you have. You have the unit that wants to buckle in the middle, so you have to make sure your bottom, you have tensile strength on the bottom. The top has to be held so it doesn't rock back and forth. So I built these little saddles here to go around the frame, which goes in incorporation with these special strap hangers, which will wrap around here and anchor the top. So the top can't move sideways. That's the main thing on the top, is it can't move sideways. There isn't much force any other way except the pushing force, you know, so that's not real hard to figure that out. On the bottom, however, you know, I normally take the floorboards off and I can anchor behind the floorboards. These don't seem like they're quite strong enough to withhold that type of stress. So I abandoned that right away, and I found a couple of good mounts here that are welded right onto the frame. So I had to do some modifications on each side. And I got these special plates that I rigged up that will attach to the frame and carry that load. So we're going to go ahead and just get this guy put on here. I've got this bracket in the middle. What that does is it prevents side-to-side shift. It doesn't do anything else, it just prevents it from twisting. So that's really the main force that you got to look at. You got to look at the pulling force and the twisting force. And then there's bracing in here for the lateral up and down type of movements. And then I've got bracing at the bottom here so it doesn't rack. I kind of overdid these. This bracing here probably isn't even required, but you know, kind of a one-off deal here. I thought, you know, you always fail in the favor of overdoing it rather than underdoing it. So anyway, I'll get this guy put together. I've got parts in the powder coat oven. I'm hoping to have this one close to mounting wheels tomorrow. Today's Thursday, tomorrow's Friday, so by the weekend I should have this one looking like something. And I've got wheels on order, so I'm waiting for those, and then I can mill down the rotors, because I mill those to fit the wheels. And I can do them in advance if I use the standard wheels. He picked out different wheels, so I have to wait till the wheels get here, and then I have to size the rotors to fit the wheels. So that's the project. We'll get this put in here, and then we'll continue Plan X. All right, the adapter frame is all on. She's all bolted in, strapped on the top. I've got my anchors on the inside tightened up, and I got my anti-shift here. That's all anchored in. So she's good to go. So we'll stick the frame on. And there we go. Now it should start to look like something. All right, torque those down, we get them all set. She's a rockin'. So the next step is I'm going to get the A-arms on here, get the spindles on here, shocks. Then you get the steering system set up. So I got plenty to do before the wheels get here. But pretty good. I think I started yesterday around 10 in the morning, and just getting that adapter frame, that was a big deal. That has to be done right because everything hangs on that. So we'll continue with this. All right, one of the questions I get once in a while is how do you do the steering? You put a steering box in or any kind of steering. It's actually direct steer. So the handlebars really directly control the tie rods, which turn the wheels. The way I set this up, these are the original fork tubes, which I cut off. These are 10.5 inches long, is what these ended up to be. It varies by bike. But I take the stock tubes, cut them off, take a nut like this, which is the union nut, and I mill down the end, which goes into this plate. This will get welded, and then I spin this on the lathe, so it just fits in this end, and it's welded in the end like that. And then there'll be a cross beam that goes across here, which bolts into both of these tubes. And the tubes are important because they brace the triple trees together, otherwise the triple trees are independent. This ties everything together, so it forms a box structure, which is a very, very strong structure on a motorcycle. In fact, the triple trees are actually the strongest portion of the entire motorcycle. It's really impossible to bend one of those. And I've never seen one. I've never seen one damaged. So anyway, so that'll take care of that. That gets welded in there. The tubes go back in, and then the steering column actually attaches to the fork tubes, and that's what runs the whole deal. So we'll continue on this little process here. Okay, this one's pretty well done. As you can see, it's welded in, and as you see, the nut that I originally milled down does stick out almost a quarter inch, about 3/16. That way, the plate that goes across is not just hanging on the bolt, it's actually on this shouldered device here, which makes it a much stronger unit. And it's just held in place with magnets, and then I go ahead and weld the whole thing and then grind it off smooth, and that's all that's to it. Okay, we're looking pretty good. I got, from when I left off in the last video here, I've got the steering sector on here. It's all bolted in. I was really surprised because normally you have to bend it a little bit. You know, when you weld here, this plate warps a little, so this doesn't run true. This one was spot on. It was nice and straight. Never had that happen before. So I didn't have to do anything. Mounted the bearing back here. You can see how the tie rods work now. It's pretty much a direct drive from the steering head. And this is going to turn fairly sharp. It's got a little more swing on the triple trees than most of them do. So that's going to be kind of nice. I'm actually at a point where I have to stop. I've got the anti-sway bar. That's all I've got left as far as the framework. That's in the oven right now. So I'm going to let that heat up real good and shut off the oven and go home. And we'll let her cook for another hour or so, and that should cure that one. It's about a 10-minute job to get that put back on here. And that's it. Everything else is done. I like the black shocks. I think they're going to look really good on this bike. They got a little more of a cruiser style look to it, I think. So those are nice. I'm waiting for wheels yet. So I still can't do the brake rotors, but I can go ahead and start the body panels. So Monday I'm going to start laying out the body panels. This will have a little different shape. I'm going to follow the contour of this crash bar. So I'm going to follow that all the way around. It's probably going to dive off about here to hit the bottom of the frame. But there'll be probably a small gap at the top here, get some air through here on the rider. And this one's going to get a shorter storage box. It'll have about a 4-inch space on the bottom to get air into the radiator. And there'll be deflector plates in here too, which are going to help deflect air into the radiator. So there's going to be a little aerodynamic configuration going on here too. And I got to build a little valance to cover the attachments here and everything too. So it's going to be a little more involved doing the body panels, but I think by next Friday I should have this guy in the paint shop. And then we'll be ready to move on to the next one. So it was a good week. Started this one yesterday, and here I am today. Pretty much, if I had the wheels, this thing would be drivable. So, moving right along.